we were talking about the Christmas tapes, and you have been in holiday films before, but in this one you play like a version of Santa. Is this the first time you played like Santa or a version of Santa?
Yep, I've been in three Christmas movies, but I've never actually played Santa until this one.
Excellent. And I've worked
Santa's been in some.
yeah. Well, I would assume so. And can you tell us a little bit about your role? Maybe not give it away, but like what was your inspiration, or how did you get into the mode?
Um, yeah, Santa in this one is he's a fun character because you're never quite sure of whether he is kind and gentle Santa or he's just a suicidal maniac who's going to do horrid things to your body. Um, and I think that was one of the reasons I liked the character for a start, was taking away that thing that we all have, that we consider Santa Claus to be this wonderful old jolly ho 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 man, and making him a little bit scary so that he was more like a ho 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 now bang. Oh damn, did I hit you with that? Um, More so. So yeah, it was screwing with an icon is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I've worked with Dave Sheridan before, and I know for a fact that most of what we got from him wasn't on the actual paper. It wasn't in the script. For you, though, while driving in the truck, your dialogue, the delivery seemed very effortless. Um, how much of that was improv, and how much of that was scripted?
Um, I mean, we said we went through it all and we discussed it and decided that there were certain things that needed to be done and said, and then virtually they left it up to me to fill in the blanks, which I did, and I just did it as a conversation. To me, it was like he's just chatting away happily to this guy, and while he's chatting, he's coughing, doing horrible things, and you find out why, and his wife gets involved because she's Mrs. Claus. And the nice thing is, at the end of the day, you don't know who either one of us are because
Yeah,
I'm Santa Claus, she's Mrs. Claus. That's it. Sorry.
yeah. And I think that's kind of the beauty of these anthology films. You get like these little looks into these realities or these lives. And considering that it is an anthology film, how long were you on set for this film?
I think 2 days.
Interesting. And kind of how we were talking about it the character seems so natural. I would assume that you had a pretty good experience on set. What was the morale like? Because everyone seemed to be having a good time.
Oh, everybody was having a ball. Everybody was just having so much fun doing it. And occasionally we had to reshoot things because people would crack up and start laughing, and we'd have to go back and do it again. But it was just a very relaxed, very happy, a very nice environment that we all, we all knew why we were there. We were just making these cute little videos, and let's enjoy it. You can't pretend they're going to go to the Academy Awards, so just have fun.
Yeah, it was definitely enjoyable. I mean, I didn't really know what I was getting into until I sat down. But you know, before we move on, how did you get involved with this project?
How did I get involved?
Yeah.
Um, they asked me if I'd do it.
I mean, how did they contact you? Well, like there was no.
You'd have to ask Dan because I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, they contacted me by phone. No, I mean by the internet, but I was suggested by someone, and I cannot remember who it was.
Okay.
And once Dan contacted me and sort of said, this is what it's all about, this is what we're doing, and would you be interested in coming on board? And I said, well, send me the script, let me have a look. And he said, yeah, well, I can send you the outline. And I thought, oh, great, we don't have a script. We're going to shoot the damn thing. And then he was like, so, and I just loved it. I thought that is so cool because I can be my sarcastic self and get away with it. That it's the way Santa is. He never actually says what the whole thing is, and the excitement about what he's doing. You could go home. Yeah, I won't spoil it and say how, but you could go home.
Yeah.
So it's one of those wonderful thing. To me, it's a dark side of Scrooge
Yeah.
because it's someone who forgets about Christmas, doesn't care about Christmas, doesn't really worry about his family not seeing him on Christmas Eve, who gets taught that Christmas means everything to people. So I think that's that's sort of a dark side of Scrooge.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun with it. And anytime, I think it's gonna, for years to come, become one of those films when people are looking for the darker side of Christmas. This is going to be one of those films that are in the conversation. Uh, I am curious as if it was Brandon Slagle who maybe uh, pushed or maybe brought your name up, because I was also sent Frost for review, and I was waiting for it to get a little bit cooler here in Texas before I sat down to check it out. So, what can you tell me to, I guess, prepare for experiencing Frost?
It's not like Santa Claus. Tell you that. Um, it's actually, I think it's one of the nicest films I've done for a long, long time. Brandon's a wonderful director, and Vinny is just blows me away all the time. And it's only the two of us really that are in the film. And she's in basically the last third of the film on her own. So um, it's it's one of those films where you'll go through it and it's a little terrifying in a lot of spaces and a lot of places, and you're sort of rooting for the hero, which is her. You want her to live and get out and do things, and that doesn't happen. So you sort of you get a gut punch about 20, 15, 20 minutes max from the end. Yeah, and you look at it and you go, never saw that coming.
Yeah. Well,
Damn, spoiler alert, never saw it coming.
yeah, Vinny warned me. She said everything is good, or you'll be fine until the end. So I got to prepare myself. I just wanted to see if you had any words.
Yeah, don't eat dinner before you watch it.
Well, excellent. Okay. I have a few questions from our viewers, considering you played multiple iconic villains. We'll be jumping around a bit, rapid fire. Earlier today, I watched an old interview when Arnold is calling you sweet one moment and then crazy the next. Our viewers want to know if, when doing the more physical scenes, was Arnold a bit more rough around the edges, like a bit more green, or was he as polished as the edit made him out to be?
Let me put it to you this way. The fight scenes were two big kids, because we're both about the same size and weight and the whole thing. Two big kids trying to find out who could piss up the wall the highest, and we went for it. Believe me, we both got hurt. I had my elbow fractured. He had his collarbone fracture in his collarbone doing it. So we both went for it. We're big boys, and we just let it all hang out. It was kind of, at times they had an ambulance on standby. They're going to kill each other. But it was fun because a movie like that you couldn't have done by just saying, can't put a stunt double in, can't put a stunt. It just wouldn't have worked. You needed to see us doing it. You needed to see the aggression we had and why. And Honey's wonderful. He just went for it with me. And it was one of those things. And when it ended up, you were sort of standing there looking at each other, holding bones and things and going, ow, but you were like, wow, that was so cool. Like that was so good. And it turned out great. I mean, I don't think it would have worked if we'd have had stunt doubles taking over every time we started fighting each other. Wouldn't have been that same desire to win, which is what the whole thing was about. So no.
Excellent.
Um, Arnie was just the same as me. He was in it to win it.
Another viewer wants to commend you on your cool character from Inner Space. Viewer Corey says that you were like Terminator meets a Bond villain. And did you enjoy, trading in the Mohawk, for a suit to join such an amazing cast?
Let me put it to you this way. If Steven Spielberg asked you to do a film, what would you do? I would have shaved off my pubic hair. I was just in it like it was just so much fun. And the funny part of it is, if you watch the movie, in one scene where I'm talking to my boss, or she's talking to me, my boss, she's walking backwards and forwards past me, berating me because I've let Martin Short get away. And she walks past, and she's walking past me. I go, and she goes, "Don't say it." So I can talk, I just don't.
Gotcha.
So they put that little thing in there that he just never says anything, but he can if he wants to.
It is one of my favorite roles of yours, but another one of my favorite roles growing up, I can remember watching Road Warrior with my dad, and right now my dad's actually recovering from hip surgery, so I wanted to give him an opportunity to have a bit in this interview as well. So I asked him, if he had any questions for you, and of all the things he wanted to know, he said, you know, with the scream in Road Warrior, how did you come up with it? And then how much time did you spend practicing, that before they shouted action? What was that like?
I didn't spend any time practicing the scream. It just, and that wasn't actually in it. It just became a natural thing for me to do. George had us write a biography of our character, like for like 5 days. We would write about, and when we came in, Terry Hayes and George Miller and Brian would read it and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, sort of thing, rewrite it. And we did that. By the end of that time, we had written from when we were born to when the film started. So the character was totally grounded in what we needed to do. And it was my first film. I'd never done anything like that in my life. And so I was relying on Mel and relying on George to sort of guide me where I was going. And it was terrifying, to be blunt. But all of that became part of the character. That was who he was. Once I got into it, there was no stepping backwards and walking away. It was going forwards. And so I always remember I was in Japan, actually, and they were showing Road Warrior. They were showing the first one, Mad Max Road Warrior, and then the new one, Fury Road. And after Road Warrior, they were doing an interview with, I was the only person there from Road Warrior. There was 4 or 5 of the people out of the original Mad Max, and they were asking questions. And somebody said to me, Mr. Wells, and I didn't realize, we knew George Miller was coming. We didn't know he'd arrived. He was standing behind me. And someone said to me, Mr. Wells, well, how much input did you have into what you were doing? And I said, really, it was George Miller. He created the character and me and gave me my career. And this voice behind me said, no. And I went, George is standing there behind me, and he said, sorry. So I gave you 21 lines of dialogue and you created a movie. And I went, oops. And that's George's thing, is that he gave me a limited amount of dialogue and I just went for it. And he said 80% of what I did was me. It's me doing the character the way I saw it, and which was what he wanted. And I think if I'd been acting for a while, I probably would never have done that. I would have been better to just go out on that limb without the blessing of the director. But because I was the newbie, I had no idea that was the way you should be. So I just wandered out onto the limb and went, jumped up and down on it a few times. And George just let it go. He just let me run.
That is so
That's just
incredible.
full of strange barking animals. But
Yeah,
no, so and by the way, what's your father's name?
his name is Eric.
Eric?
Yes.
Eric? I hope you get over your operation. And there's only one thing I've got to say for you. Hip, hip, hooray. Sorry,
he,
Eric. I just couldn't help myself.
he will love that. You know, growing up, you know, it was either Star Wars or Road Warrior. So it definitely will mean something both to both of us. And finally, to wrap up, you know, the interview, with a quick question for my 7-year-old. You know, I grew up watching Power Rangers. And with
Uh-huh.
streaming being as prominent as it is these days, my son recently discovered Rancic and, you know, Power Rangers Time Force. Can you give him a quick update as far as how Rancic is doing? After a little bit of research, you know, I did discover that he now heads the mutant rehabilitation program, but we haven't made it that far yet. You know, we're trying to watch these episodes as a family. So maybe you can just like tell him, you know, what maybe does Rancic have planned for Christmas or something, you know, fun like that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much now not something I can hide, but Rancic forgoes his evil ways and becomes more of a hero to everybody simply because he suddenly realizes that what he's doing has led him to nearly destroying his own daughter, whom he loves a lot. So when he figures that out, he figures that he has to change, and so he does. And then he is more interested in helping people and making sure that type of thing never happens again. So Rancic's pretty cool. He's out there doing his thing.
Well, excellent. I really do appreciate your time. You know, here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing. And you, sir, Mr. Wells, you are doing just fine. Is there anything you want to mention before we go?
Well, the thing I would like to mention is I'd just like to say to everybody, I wish everybody watching this or everybody that hears about it, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for going to see the films I do. You are why I am an actor. And I also wish everyone, apart from my little dog who continues to bark behind me, I wish everyone the most wonderful Christmas. And you, yourself, your family, your father, I hope that he gets over his hip operation with no problems. Your son, I hope he suddenly finds out that Rancic's not as bad as he thinks. But I wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and New Year. And please be safe, be careful, and be kind, because that's what we need.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Wells. Everyone go check out the Christmas tapes. I will have all of the information below, and, you know, support Mr. Wells as much as you can. Thank you so much, Vernon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jesse. Anytime, man, anytime.